Y'all, first lesson, first topic. I hope you're doing well and are well rested. So, our first unit that'll take about 2 weeks or so is on quantities and relationships. With this unit, make sure you're also completing your modules on Mathia. Okay, you do have about 2 weeks to finish that module. I do expect you to finish it. Stay on top of it, y'all. Don't wait till the last week, the last day to complete this module because you're gonna get very, very stressed. It's gonna be something you should do daily, something you should put in the effort daily. Okay. Um. So first lesson here: picture worth 1,000 words is what we're looking at. Learning goals, understanding quantities and the relationship with each other. Identify the independent, dependent quantities for a scenario. Use reasonable scale for graph modeling a scenario. Identify key characteristics of a graph and then describe similarities and differences between those graphs and scenarios we look at. So we're also going to be coming into some key terms, right? So every time I introduce a new key term, you should be writing it down in your notebook every single time, okay? The only way that you are going to get used to looking at these words is if you have it written down somewhere, you're going to forget about them. So anytime I introduce a new key term, you should write down in your notebook. By the end of this year, you're going to have all these key terms, examples, things like that in your notebook to use on your tests. So I recommend you do it because you're going to have them on your test, okay? So key terms you should write it down in your notebook today are dependent quantities and independent quantities, okay? I will give you those definitions today. So let's get our minds just kind of thinking about math. I know it's been a while, so here's a little review activity we'll do. You can pause it when I get through the question. So Emma bought a new video game. The graph describes the number of hours Emma spent playing the video game over a period of 7 days. The question is, what does the highest point on the graph represent with respect to the scenario? What does the lowest point represent? So go ahead and pause the video, answer the question on your own. See if you can do it, y'all, right? I can't force you to pause the video, but I highly recommend you try to do these things on your own. Pause video. So if we're looking at this, right, hopefully you paused it and you answered it. What is the highest point? So if we're looking at this, right, our highest point is right here, okay? Now, if we're looking at our x-axis, that's the line that goes left and right. We're looking at time in days. Your y-axis going up and down is looking at time playing games in hours. So if we're looking at this point right here, your x comes first, so it's at 3. Your y comes second, 4. So the point 3, 4. And what this means is that on the third day, Emma had this game, she played for 4 hours, right? On the third day, she played 4 hours. Now, if we're looking at the lowest point here, it looks at here, which would be 7, because the x-axis is 7, and 0 for the y, because it doesn't go up. It's on the x-axis, so it's 0. 7, 0, all right? On this point, on the 7th day, Emma played 0 hours of her video game, okay? That's how we look at a graph. This is supposed to help us remember the quantity or the specific things and looking at a graph and knowing the features and the characteristics of a graph because you will have to use it for this unit. Okay. All right, getting started. So what comes first? So I don't know if you've ever planned a party, right? But there's things that we do. It's very, very exhausting, as your guardian can probably tell you. It's a lot to plan a party, right? You have to think about who you're going to invite and making sure you have ice and beverages and food, and you got to make the food, and you have to clean your house, and you have to do all these things, and it's very, very exhausting, okay? But when we do these things, there is a process. We do things in order because it makes sense, and, you know, it's what we do when we're looking at things. For example, right, we're not going to make our food. We're not going to make all the food for the party and then go out and go grocery shopping. Okay? We're going to go grocery shopping, make sure we have the product to make the food, and then we'll make the food, right? So the food that we make completely depends on what we buy at the grocery store. Hence the words dependent, independent variable. So we're going to consider the two quantities that are changing the relationship. I'm going to do a couple, and then I would like you to pause on your own and try on your own. So the number of movie tickets purchased and the total cost. Okay, so think about this. Is the number of movie tickets purchased depending on the cost? Or is the total cost depend on how many movie tickets were purchased? Okay, and I'm hoping you'll lean, okay, the total cost we get completely depends on how many movie tickets were purchased. Okay, so your movie tickets purchase is your independent. It stands on its own. It doesn't need anything else. But the total cost that we receive will depend on how many movie tickets we sell. Okay. Now the next one says the number of eggs used